Hello and welcome to Grey Matters with Paul and Andy. Andy and Paul, it doesn't matter which way round. We hope you're well and you're enjoying our podcast. I must give a shout out, I think they call it. A mention.
Yeah.
A mention. I don't do shout outs.
No.
Mention.
Yeah.
Give a mention to my colleagues in... my former colleagues actually in BBC Local Radio and yours, who this year did a for children in need have done the 1,000-mile challenge, and it did make me laugh because when I first read about this, I thought it was a new BBC management recruitment process. They've all got to swim a mile for children in need.
That's to get away.
Yeah, well, but the problem is, I thought. The thing is that all these staff have done it, and I take my hat off to them because a mile is a long way, 60-odd lengths of a normal swimming pool. So, you know, a lot of them have all taken part. And I thought it was going to be management say this, right, okay, you're all going to do a mile for children, and those that don't do the mile, right, you're out the door, that's it. But a challenge is supposed to be a challenge at something that you don't normally do. Now, these poor people that work at BBC Local Radio were chucked in at the deep end 2 years ago and have been trying to keep their heads above water since then, swimming against the tide. And so they've been doing that for the last 2 years. So why is a swim especially challenging for them? But anyway, they've raised loads of money for children in need, and I think they've done a brilliant job. So all respect to them. It's a bit like asking BBC middle management to do a sponsored silence, isn't it? You know.
So what basically you've done there, Mr. Breer, is you've dressed up a congratulatory, sort of flimsy congratulatory missive for your former colleagues,
yes.
So you can get in a little dig about swimming in the deep end and keeping quiet of your management. But I do admire that, because I think that's worth donating £10 to children in need myself. Absolutely.
A great charity, does marvellous work, and well done, seriously well done to all those that took part in that swimathon challenge. Very, very good indeed. Anyway, yeah, we're really on the countdown now, aren't we?
Oh. You are. Yeah. 13, this is, number 13, I think. Lucky number 13. Do you believe in luck and number 13? Would you avoid seat number 13 in the aircraft?
No. American buildings don't have a level 13 on them. They're very superstitious, the Americans.
What about Trump Towers? Does that have a...
I have no idea. I don't know. I have been there, but I don't know.
Have you?
Not in an official capacity or anything like that, don't worry. Yeah, I'm not superstitious at all. No, I don't.
Why are you wearing a shamrock badge then and touching wood every time we do this?
I'm just not superstitious.
No, I'm not.
No, I don't.
Did you walk under a ladder?
Yeah. Happy with that. I just, you know, I don't believe in luck and fate and all that sort of stuff. I'm a great believer in positive thinking. You know.
What about the Scottish play?
The Scottish play, I would say, because I know other people are suspicious. So if I was amongst a group of thesps in a theatre, I would.
Just in case people don't know what you're talking about.
I would not thespians. I would not say the M word because it's unlucky in theatre tradition.
No, I've said it now.
Yes,
you've said it. It's all going to go horribly wrong.
No, it isn't. But
you know, run out of battery.
But that's their tradition, and I would respect that.
Yeah, and also. What you have to do if you say it by accident, it just came out, is you have to go out of a door, turn around 3 times, knock, and then ask to be let in.
Yeah.
Which is even more ludicrous as far as I'm concerned. The other thing was on stage, no real greenery.
Or whistling.
Well, let's start with the green.
Okay.
So the green was a very good reason. If some leaves dropped off, a plant that was part of the set,
yes,
somebody could come and make their entrance, skid across the other side, and head out the fire door. If it was a particularly bad, slimy bit of green. So I can get that. Okay. Whistling. Do you know why?
So is it something to do with the scene changing? And they used to use a whistle code for the backdrops to be dropped down. Is that right?
I can't give you all the points for that answer.
Sorry.
So what I'll tell you is what I believe is I've researched this, having worked in the theatre.
I know you're a bit of a love,
was
aren't you?
when you had if you have a fly tower with flymen,
yes,
they're the people that pull the ropes and make the scenery go up and down like
right.
that. A lot of those people, flymen, were sailors that were on leave, so they'd come back and they'd be land-bound for a period of time, and they'd find a job in the theatres pulling the ropes, because they used to pull in the ropes at sea on the ships. And of course a whistle meant you need to get back on board, so it was unlucky they'd have to leave the comfort of the Theatre Royal Drury Lane and board a ship in the Thames and be back at sea again, so it was considered unlucky for them.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, now though, presumably at theatres all that's done by electronics, so you can whistle all you like.
It is done by electronics, and when I trained to be a stage manager at a college in London. They had state-of-the-art scenery that was computerised. This was next door at the Barbican Theatre.
Oh, right.
They had one of the first computerised. So what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
I'm sure you're about to tell me.
What could be more straightforward than a man or woman pulling a rope and scenery going up or down? So you involved electronics and programmers and people like that, IT specialists or nerds, or whatever you want to call them. So the default was, if something went wrong, everything would fly out. Everything would just be gridded, as I said. And that did happen. I think it was an opera or something at the Barbican. This is next door to my college. And somebody said something. All of a sudden, all the scenery went up. And of course, there's people there picking their nose backstage and waiting there in their dungarees, completely brought the house down.
Fantastic.
The thing is, you see, I did a lot of opera, not singing. I was a stage manager, and it was lovely. If now I hear Marriage of Figaro or Coronation of Poppaea, it triggers something, and it's a lovely, happy memory. But of course, things do go wrong in opera, and when they go wrong, it's very difficult to put them right. Because if, as we've been talking about planning for our great panto, which we're not going to do, but this pantomime season, you can ad-lib till the cows come home, can't you?
Yeah.
Oh, where's Aladdin? Oh, he's here, but he's gone for a walk first.
He's running a bit late.
So yes, so you can ad-lib and you can get around it, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
In opera, there was one, I can't remember the name. I think it was Marriage of Figaro, and there was an occasion when I was on the book. That means in the wings doing all the cues on the console, and there was there he is. I see him coming. Oh no. He's not there at the moment. Where is he? You know, you have to. It's called recitative. It's the bit between the choruses. Yeah. So if somebody's coming and he's not there, you've got to say something. You've got to do something. Yeah. So you ad lib recitative. There he is. Oh no, it's not him. It's a bus. You know, all that kind of ridiculousness. So anyway, how did we get onto that? We were talking about opera. We were talking about. The thing is, when we record these, we just do it as one, don't we?
Yes.
There's no magic.
No.
We set the recorder going, and which, as you've alluded to, is very old, like me. Press a button, and off we go. So to actually stop and spin back, we kind of lose it. So we have to try and pick... As people listening to it probably going, you were talking about the but we can't remember. Can you remember?
No. Talking about theatre. We ended up talking about theatre.
Yeah, but I can't
remember. Wearing green, you mentioned first.
Yeah. Oh, superstition. You've taken me back there. There we are. Perfect. Yeah, number 13 podcast. Of course, I might completely ruin this and put it in as number 14. But nobody will write to us.
But you never know.
Apart from lovely Kev or Lee, they might say, you've got your numbers wrong. But this is building up to Christmas. We talked a little bit about Christmas last time. And Christmas food. We talked about Christmas drink and the problems that can bring. But also Christmas food can bring its fair share of problems, doesn't it? Because when we were growing up, vegetarians haven't been invented.
No, they hadn't.
No. Now they have. And now these things called vegans have been invented. They just eat cardboard. Yeah. Now, what do you do for Christmas if you've got vegetarians and vegans coming?
Just make them bring their own food. That's what I'd do. I said, you're welcome at ours for Christmas dinner, but it's a turkey and all the trimmings. If you want something different, bring your own stuff.
Well, do you not think that you ought to accommodate them and do something?
No, because if I go around to their house, they're not going to cook me a turkey, are they?
Not just
it works both ways, Paul.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I've ignited something. Yeah. So, there's something you don't like about Christmas, isn't there?
Yes.
All of it.
All of it, yeah. No, I like the songs. They're good.
The songs?
Yeah, the carols.
If it could be Christmas.
But which is ironic because
day.
I think I was talking about this before. You know, when you're a child, Christmas is great because it's a time of wonder and it's a time of hope. And it's a time, it's great. It used to be great in the 80s because there were fab things on the television and you could watch your favourite film and all that sort of stuff.
What fab things on the television?
Well, the James Bond film on Christmas Day, for example, after the Queen's speach.
Right. Did you watch the Queen's speech?
When you're a parent, yes, I did. Always watch the Queen's speech, which will be the King's speech, obviously, now. But as a parent, you end up schlepping up and down the country because you've got small kids and they want to see grandparents and grandparents want to see them. So your Christmas just basically means sitting in a car for hours and hours and hours and hours. And all that. And when you get to our age, it's like, right, what do we do now then with Christmas? But when I'm not a massive fan of Christmas. I think it puts too much pressure on people, especially families, with its commercialisation. But what I do love about Christmas is going to 9 Lessons and Carols. I think that is wonderful. And I think it's a really, really nice service.
So it's joking apart, it is a celebration of Jesus' birth.
Yeah, well, that's basically what it is.
And but have we lost that?
Yep, totally.
Well, you say totally, but there's lots of churches still around and lots of carol services and things.
No, not totally, but I mean generally. I would imagine there would be many people, if they're honest, who say, look back, on 12th night and say, did I sing a carol this year at any point? No. Did I think about the Christmas message at any point over the last, couple of weeks? No. And then you think, well, what have you done then? Have you just basically rejoiced in commercialisation and capitalism and, getting things? Or... and they might say, no, actually, I've spent time with people I love and family, and that's really, really important. But obviously, people can't be together at Christmas for whatever reason. And again, that's another pressure on them, isn't it?
It's a mixed blessing, isn't it? Because
it is a mixed blessing.
It's an opportunity to gather together and, in the olden days, watch Morecambe and Wise, watch the Queen, eat turkey, blah, blah, blah. And I think families were closer quite often. You didn't have to travel as much. I think we were spread out a lot more. Yeah. But then, of course, there is the bittersweet time of it's the end of the year. It's approaching the end of the year when you do an audit of who's no longer with you. Yeah. Things you'd like to have said to people who are no longer with you. Christmas past is a time of a bit like the Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, when he shows you what Christmas was, and it shows you what Christmas is and what it could be. How do we turn back the tide then? How do we embody the best of not commercialism, but the best of things being available, and how do we retain that joyous message of Jesus being born?
Simplicity, I think, is the key, and also thinking about why is it just at Christmas? Why is it just at Christmas that people, feel the need to see their families? Why don't they do it other times of year as well? Yeah. Why do you only buy gifts for people at Christmas? Why do you only send people a card at Christmas? Why do you only make the effort at Christmas? And it's just bonkers if you think about it.
Yeah, but why do we?
I don't know, because we've been conditioned to do it. I'm quite a big fan of America's Thanksgiving. As a general celebration at the end of November.
Don't wish for it too hard. We've got their Halloween. Thank you very much.
I know, but and I think you're right. And I think Christmas is marking the end of a year. And I'm a massive fan of paganism generally, in terms of going with the seasons and marking the end of something and the beginning of a new year, and all that. But also, I don't know, just keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate. Well, if you find out how to do that, let us know, won't you? Because I think you can say these things. But
I think to be honest, we'll explore it in a minute. But I think we do know how to do it. You and I and others do know how to do that, and I think it's helping people to do that, scaffolding it, not reinforcing the opposite of that. This crass materialism.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's that it's thinking about other people more than you're thinking yourself.
Totally.
And I think it's something we all have to discipline ourselves to do, isn't it? Because it's not easy to do. It's not easy to. We're thinking about, I best get that present for that person. It can become a tick box exercise of getting presents rather than being really thoughtful. Or better still, what would somebody really like at Christmas? What would an older person really like at Christmas? Well, I'll tell you, they would like you. They would like you to sit with them and spend quality time with them. Yeah. My girls love it if we play games together, even now. But they're late teens and early 20s. Georgie and I had a game of Scrabble the other night, and there was a time when she didn't want to, because I suppose she hadn't got as big a vocabulary, didn't feel as confident, just didn't want to. Now, bearing in mind she's got all manner of electronic games that she plays on a regular basis, Wordle and all that kind of stuff that sometimes leaves me cold. We sat down at a game of Scrabble, and it was a really good game. It was really close. Now, I play competitively. I can't see what's the point of playing if you think, it doesn't matter. I'll just put it down. I've got 4. It doesn't matter. No, don't play with me then, because that's not playing the game, is it? But she was, and I let her look words up. We were in the same space with no electronic devices. I don't even think we had any music on. And it was just fun. It was just a lovely, peaceful fun.
Well, what you say makes complete sense, because if you think about it, what is the most valuable commodity we've got as human beings? And it's not money, it's time. Because we've only got a finite amount of time on this planet individually. So to give away your time is the greatest thing you can do and the greatest gift you can give to somebody else. So, that's worth thinking about. You don't have to go and buy something and wrap it up in shiny paper, but just giving your time shows somebody what you really feel about them and how much you feel about them and how much you think of them. So I think you're absolutely right, and I think I'm just writing a note to myself: never play Paul at Scrabble.
Okay,
Scrabble.
Not for money.
No.
Well, it's the luck of the bag.
Do you play Scrabble for money?
No. It's the luck of the bag, isn't it? If you draw out a Q and you draw out a U, you think, I'm in with it. I've got a U and an I and a C, and I've got quip. If I get that down on a triple letter score, I've got 30 before I start. Yes, get in. Yeah. So there is an element of that. Also, I love words, so it comes easy to me. And I do allow Georgie, who's very good with words, and Molly, very, very good with this, but I do allow them to check on their Scrabble checker thing, whether it's a Scrabble word, whether it's allowed. So I think the time thing is really important throughout our lives, throughout our years, and a lot of us are rushing to get stuff and do stuff and not be with people and not think about being with people. I try to give quality time. As I've got older, I think I've got better at it. But when you're on that conveyor belt, you're on that work thing. You've got to be in for a certain time. Do a shift, deliver a program, deliver stuff. It's relentless, and I think people just want to go and sit and blob and open a can and just be entertained, don't they? But actually spending that time, apportioning that time, and that's where we'll hopefully get into talking more about important issues to us in the new year. But let me just touch on this now, because it's very, very important to me. Christmas isn't a time to be religious, and I hope I'm not religious. I hope that I exhibit my Christian faith, not ram it down people's throats and not be religious about it. Having said that, it is a time to go to church, to go to a place of worship. And I know you don't have to go to a church. You can go and sit on the moors or a cliff or whatever, in a field, in a quiet room. But a church is a beautiful place to do it. And I don't just mean a traditional church with a tower or a steeple or any of that. Of course, that's the brand of church, isn't it? I'm talking about any place of worship. It could be a school hall, could be a building that is a postmodern church meter, to go and just spend a bit of time dwelling and being thankful.
Yes.
Thankful that we're not having bombs raining down our heads. We haven't been invaded. We've still got an economy that allows us to have inflation with manageable levels. It's not out of control. That we have a government that has democratically and sensibly been elected, whether we like it or not. We live in a democracy of sorts. And I think it's being thankful at Christmas. and an opportunity that if you do, as I do, believe in God and have experienced God and have experienced Him at work in my life, you can just sit there, say thank you, hold your hands out and go, just more and more of you, more of my relationship. I used to love spending time with my earthly dad. He's not here now, so I can't do it. But I used to love hanging around with him. He'd say, "Oh, why don't we just pop down for a quick half, while your mum's getting the food, and not necessarily at Christmas or any time of year." And that joyous time of popping down to the pub and sitting with your dad and feeling his love, and to think, it's my son, I'm having a pint with him. I got really tearful the other day. I was talking about my dad working in London.
Yeah.
And because I was at, as I said, at Guildhall Drama College in London, occasionally I'd be able to go and meet him across the river, and we'd go to a pub, and just to call in on him when he was at work in his environment, where you could see he was not revered but respected and part of the team.
Yes.
I felt really proud about that, and he felt proud that his 16-year-old reasonable looking son that could speak and was articulate was coming in to meet his colleagues, and that was special. And again, we're talking about time, aren't we? Time that was spent together. And I think time, well, you and I have carved out time. We could easily busy ourselves doing other stuff, but as you said when I arrived, there's no rush. Well, we don't really have to be anywhere, because anywhere we have to be, we could apologise and say, I was busy talking to Andy, and that should be fine. Yeah.
Now, sorry just to bring this up, but you are actually doing something really important talking about Christmas, aren't you? We did tease this in our last podcast, and I was hoping you were going to tell me more about it, but so far you haven't.
Well, as God planned it,
yes.
I mean, it has to be occurring. I don't believe in coincidences. I think you know that, but people listening might not. I mean, it's just like too much, and I know it's a bit of a hackneyed word, but God incidence is... I don't know if it's in the... I'll see if that's a Scrabble word, God incidence. Well, coincidence is hyphenated, isn't it? So, I needed to pick up some money, and an opportunity came along back in June where somebody said, do you fancy being Father Christmas? And I said, I've always fancied being Father Christmas. I do have my own Father Christmas outfit. They said, well, it's, we're fairly sort of high profile.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do it? And I said, well, what's the rate? The rate was more than I was earning at the BBC.
Right.
By quite a bit.
Right.
An hour. And I thought, sitting in a dark grotto in a Father Christmas outfit, being nice to little kids and their parents, whatever, I've got to do it. Of course I've got to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I've had some time to reflect on this. It sounds quite a good idea for an hour.
Yeah. But
for 4 hours, for a whole month building up to Christmas, it's going to be a
tricky.
Bit of a... Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I think seeing the joy in people's faces, in the little ones' faces. But I'm a bit worried about my script, because, there's a tension for me as a Christian man that was brought up, not necessarily brought up as a strong Christian, but I was brought up in a Christian household. They hoodwinked me. They told me that Father Christmas delivered these presents in the middle of the night. He came down the chimney.
Yeah.
And I said, we haven't got a chimney.
Yeah.
Yes, but he knocks on the back door.
Yeah.
Right, I'll be listening for that then. And I listened, and one Christmas I saw, not Father Christmas, but my father stumble into the room with a pillowcase full of presents, and I went, I knew it.
Yes.
And I was both disappointed and relieved. Now, we spin a lie about Father Christmas to our children, and we expect them to believe in Jesus. Which some people would say, well, he's as much a fantasy figure as Father Christmas. Actually, Father Christmas, Saint Nick, was an actual person, if you go back in history. And Jesus certainly was. If you do any theology, if you do any history of Jesus' existence, absolutely bang to rights. But he was there.
Yeah.
Well, people say, well, who was he? But he didn't give out a present. No. He was a son of God, actually, slightly more important. So I have a bit of a tension of that I'm going to be hoodwinking these kids and saying, I'm Father Christmas. What do you want?
Yeah.
And I want to dovetail in the story of, I don't want to be heavy about it, but I want to say I don't actually exist. let me tell you about Jesus. I'm not going to do that. That would be wrong. But I've got to meld the two together somehow.
I'd be really naughty. I'd be the worst person to be Father Christmas at a store or something. I get into terrible trouble, because I hate Christmas. But I'd just be mischief making all the time. So if a kid said to me, sitting there, and I'd say, and their parents are there, and I'd say, what would you like for Christmas? And this little child said something like, I'd like a new game for my PlayStation 2. I'd say, well, we'll see what we can do. In fact, why don't you upgrade to a PlayStation 4?
Why are you doing it as a DJ from the 80s?
I don't know.
Father Christmas doesn't talk like that. Why don't you upgrade to a PlayStation?
Sorry, is that better? Father Christmas talks like that, doesn't he?
I don't know. How would you like me to talk?
I don't know.
He doesn't talk like that. All right. Father Christmas. Yes, I know. I'm going to burn it. Well, actually, he probably does.
Are you going to have a special voice?
A special
more
special than this one, Andy?
A special Father Christmas voice.
Yes. Should it be something like this?
Yeah.
Let me just try and rehearse. Hello. Oh, what have we got here? What's your name?
No.
Funicular. Vernacular? I've not met a vernacular before. How do you spell that? And what are you hoping for Christmas? Oh, you'd like to buy what? One of those special things that Mummy's got in her drawer. Well, I don't think that Mummy. I think Mummy has probably got a better idea than that, hasn't she? Is it a torch? Yes. You'd like a torch like Mummy?
No, she said she wanted a rabbit.
Do you think I should have some rabbits standing by? I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't. I'll keep you posted. Do you want a live link? I think that there will be, in the space of a 4-hour shift, there will be a definite lull after 3 hours. But of course, I will have elves there as well to help me.
Yeah, well, good luck with it.
But it depends on the elves, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, well,
you know what the state of the elf service is these days. It's terrible.